Welcome to the United We Scan podcast, the podcast by rural carriers for rural carriers. The views expressed in this podcast are of the presenters and the presenters only and do not represent the views, opinions, or strategies of the United States Postal Service or the National Rural Letter Carriers Association. We ask that you please consult your assigned union representative for guidance in your local area. Please like this podcast, share with your fellow rural carriers, and subscribe to be notified each time a new episode is uploaded. Please leave a comment or question for us below. Thank you. Now, here are the hosts of the United We Scan podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 70. Wow, we're getting up there, guys. So, tonight we're going to cover some state conventions, possible route cuts, and, more as we veer off the tracks and discuss other stuff. So, how was your week, James?
Oh, it was good. It was good. Normal week at the post office. It looks like they're starting to do the benchmarking again through management because my postmaster came over and asked me about my unscannable parcels and why I had letter WSS when it was in my DPS. And I'm like, it says in the manual, if it's not all in the DPS, I can input it. If I get a little pack of it, I can input it. So a little bit of a deal there. No issues, no discipline, no PDI, nothing from that. But yeah, it sounds like management's starting to benchmark on that. And of course, listening to my Sunday Amazon delivery carriers complaining about all the problems with the current system that we'll get into later on in this episode. And the usual rigmarole of BS. I filed 11 points of dispute on my 4241 because they were due on the 19th. So I got all of those in. Of course, my supervisor was quite unhappy with the amount of paperwork I had to give them to do, but that's their job. They have to do it for us. And that should be forwarded on to my district rep. So she'll probably not be happy with the amount of paperwork either. And of course, we know Michigan District 1 Poom is not going to be happy with any paperwork coming back from disputes. Kristen will attest to that one. But
I'm in
then
Michigan District 2.
I know your district manager is better than mine in resolving disputes. Yeah, because your disputes were done for the first mini mail survey. Ours didn't come back until after the second disputes came back. Then our first disputes came back after that. But yeah, it was an interesting week overall. Heavy mail volume on several days. That made me happy. I could say that I now have a spreadsheet to track my radar report information on much more thoroughly. I created one that I can do a rotating calendar on so I can keep track of my volume per the radar report. But other than that, got to the weekend and ended up having to do some home improvement shopping Saturday and some home improvement repairs on Sunday. Kind of cold this weekend, but that's okay. It's not doing the white stuff, so I'm happy about that. Looking forward to another fun week at work. How about you, Toasty? How was your week?
Started getting back to normal mail volume, but we're also getting the elections coming up because of a runoff. And of course, that's always fun when you have two going at it and spending as much money as they can to throw mud at each other. Other than that, packages are staying steady, about 120 to 140 every day. And then DPS is coming in. I'm about to open up 2 more authorized dismounts. They're getting ready to close on those houses that they just finally built. So again, I won't get paid for that for another 5.5 months, but it is what it is until we get another form of a 4003. Same old, honestly. Not too much to add to this week for me. How about you, Bill?
Oh, I had fun causing trouble at the office as usual. When you ask for the radar reports and they tell you, oh, well, your supervisor's only here till 10 and they're not available till after 11. Okay, print today's tomorrow morning when you come in. What's so hard about this, folks? It's not rocket science. We have a route that is vacant and should be put up for bid, but because we are having 3 of our routes, myself and 2 others, being cut because we're overburdened, they're holding it off so that in case they want to or have to, they want to be able to build the other route up. And we're all sitting there just shaking our heads, going, "If you knew where this route was, none of us could affect that. So you're wasting your time, and that'll be agreed by the PTF who's next in line." Parcels are nominal. Mail is fluctuating. Mondays are always heavy, and then it peters out through the end of the week. The biggest problem is that 1 week they're telling the subs come in on 10 o'clock, and then 3 weeks later they turn around and change it back to 8:30 after such a big stink was raised. Especially by the fact that 14 city carriers called out last Sunday, so they had a supervisor there till 9 o'clock last Sunday. I think they caught on to what was going on and changed it back. So it didn't take them that long to learn, but it was a stupid lesson that needn't be taught. But what can I say? It's management. Other than that, we have a new steward elected in our office. He'll be trained on the 29th and 30th, I believe, which is a quick turnaround. They wanted us to get the election in the timely fashion so he could get to training quickly. I think that we have an opportunity here, between the ADR, the former ADR, and myself, to help coach him up on any issues that he has. He feels comfortable enough to come to either one of us for information or guidance, and I look forward to helping him. And once I'm uncertified, then I can go back and bump his ass out of there. Undecertified. Is that a word? Undecertified?
Something like that.
Okay. Well,
To have the decertification lifted.
oh, okay. I like undecertified. Other than that, the weather's getting mild here, and it's nice to see the flowers and trees are all popping. All the animals are coming out. It's nice to get back into a nice weather pattern. I don't know about you guys, but it's been enough rain here that we're done for the year. How about you, Kristen? How was your week?
Oh, it wasn't too bad. Monday was a Monday, as it normally is lately. And I was off Tuesday for my daughter's OB appointment. And then back to work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it was fairly average. Too exciting going on for me at work. That's for sure. But other than that, yeah, it's been a fairly decent week, so I can't complain too much. Got 2 weeks left before mid-states. Well, a week and a half for me. I did take Thursday off, so I think I have to pick somebody up from the airport Thursday afternoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But yeah, no, it hasn't been too bad. I said it's just uneventful week for me. My daughter's been thinking about applying after she turns 18 in October, and my postmaster let her come in one day when she came to pick me up and see what the back of the office looks like, and I explained the cases to her and all that stuff, and postmaster was like, "Oh, it would be so great to have you, blah, 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 blah." You know how they are at Make Face at the very beginning. She knows better. So, yeah, I had my local meeting on Wednesday. I am still the local vice president. I have been selected to chair the 2026 state convention, or at least co-chair, depending on who the other county unit that we're co-hosting with puts up on their end as well. So I definitely have my work cut out for me coming up for state convention for 2026. It was just sad, though, to see a local annual meeting. I thought I was going to have several people from my office. I only ended up with one person. My RCA came. It was us 3 board members, 1 retiree, my RCA, and 1 person from another neighboring office, and my daughter. That was it.
You're lucky. You're lucky. Ours. We actually had quite a few people that have never shown up to a meeting before, including one that's a part-time 204B.
Yeah, it's sad that we only get 3 attendees outside of board members for our annual local, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I tried. I tried to get some other coworkers to go, and they all said they would, and then they didn't show up, so.
Well, it doesn't help with all the extra work hours that we all have to do, and then travel to a meeting afterwards doesn't help things either.
No,
for a lot of people.
it doesn't. But yeah, it's
But
just how it goes sometimes. You can lead a horse to water, but always make them drink.
so people were asking my comment that I made earlier about scanning it if I get some of it in my Hotmail case. And I'm going by the Q&A from the NRLCA, numbers 120 and numbers 121. 120 is the shortest one. It says, what if part of the WSS was run in DPS and there are a couple bundles left to deliver? It would be scanned as WSS. 121 says, WSS guidance states to only enter these if the bundle has not been processed on automation equipment. How are carriers to determine which bundles have been through automation equipment and which have not? That simply means the mailing was not processed in your DPS mail. A WSS mailing is one presented in bundles or tubs that has not been run with your DPS mail. So that is where I am bringing that up, that if it's outside of my DPS, I'm going to put it in. And I'm not talking about it being in the NLM mail. I'm talking about it actually being outside of it. 999 and NLM do not count. But if they have it in the raw tray, then it's a bundle in the raw tray. Bless you, whoever that was.
Told you the trees and flowers are popping, baby.
Oh, they
So,
are.
yeah. And speaking of springtime and things coming up, state conventions. We know some states have already had theirs. We know that the national leadership has put out what national officers are attending which state conventions. I wanted to go about the state conventions a little bit, tell people about the process of state conventions, if they're going, what to expect when they get there. Who wants to start with that? Toasty, you been to one?
No, I have not. But I do want to remind everyone that if you do want to run for national delegate, you have to get in your nomination forms 50 days before your state convention. So those that have already had their state convention, unfortunately, you can't turn that in. But for those that do have, let's see, what's today? I think it would be like June 10th or later. You can still turn in your nomination forms for delegate, national delegate.
Now, a reminder that 50 days is from the day it's in the P.O. box. They shut that P.O. box down the day after. They do not accept any ballots, nomination ballots after that moment. So it has to be in that box. And we know from experience that our postal system is not doing too well of getting it from the office to the other office. And I'm not faulting the mail handlers. I'm not faulting the clerks. I'm faulting the processes that move it through the system. Make sure if you want to be a delegate, you get it out early. And if you think it's going to be within a few days of that, send it express. That's the only way you're going to ensure that it could possibly get there in time, because apparently priority mail doesn't work either.
No, it does not. I went to send in a state delegate nomination form, and I knew I was cutting it close. It was due by April 1st, received by. It was the Thursday before. Honestly, I should have threw in a stamp on it. I sent it priority with expected date of Saturday to get there, the 30th. It did not arrive until 7 days after I sent it in. I'm really thinking I should have just had a clerk hand stamp, round date that envelope, and I could have drove it to where it needed to go in 2 hours.
Hell, you could have had it hand stamped, held it at your house for 2 days, and still gotten it there faster.
Yes, I could have. I really could have. So yeah, it's unfortunately that person did not make it in, and I was hoping they would have been at the meeting on Wednesday, because if they had, we would have. I would have made a motion to pay him to go to state as a non-delegate, just to kind of help him out, because I am the only paid delegate for my county for state convention. Unfortunately, he did not show up at the meeting like I thought he was going to. So it'll be toss up in the air to find out if he's actually going to go to state convention. But yes, otherwise, yeah, I would definitely, if you still have time to get it in, definitely, if it's getting close, spend the money and express it. Because if it doesn't get there when it's supposed to, you can always file the claim and get your money back.
What do you expect when you go to state convention, Kristen? What's the first thing that you expect to see at a state convention?
First thing I expect to see at a state convention?
The bar.
Yep.
I usually have my own personal one set up in my room. I'm cheap like that. But no, it's... Well, obviously, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of my carriers' friends from across the state. But you always have an assigned national board member attending a state convention. Yeah, you tend to... It just depends on the state on how they do it. I mean, I know how Michigan does it. You know, we have some vendors, we have, you know, all that good stuff. But I think what I look for the most is resolutions, though. I really look forward to what resolutions have come in from other counties, whether they're going to be state related or up for national consideration as well. It's just, oh, how to even kind of put it in words, really.
Admit it, I set the standard in 2022 for state resolutions with that 3-pager.
As a non-delegate, yes.
As a non-delegate. Yeah,
And
that's another thing.
And you had people going to bat for you at national for it, because I remember that, and nobody wanted to do it because it was so long.
I believe it was Julia that went really to bat for me on that,
yes.
if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, she did. Yes, yeah. She did. The only
my district
mistake
rep
she made was that saying that you were an RCA that wrote it. But but yeah, no, she did. Yep, I remember that one.
Yeah. But that's another part of it. You know, you have your local units that pass up resolutions, but there is also a chance for resolutions to be heard on the floor at state convention. And in my case, in 2022, when I put that resolution up as a non-delegate, I had to find somebody to step up and suspend the rules for a non-delegate to present a resolution. I luckily found that person in our current Director of Labor Relations, Bridget Boziak. She stepped up, asked to suspend the rules, got a vote on it, and I was able to present my resolution. Now, if you're a delegate, it's a lot easier. There are caveats to every part of it, so check with your state constitution to make sure you can do that. But it's a great place to learn what the state wants as a whole with those resolutions. So you learn a lot about what's going on in other parts of your state through that. Plus, there's seminars and trainings and stuff that go on at state convention. Information is passed down. There's a lot to take in. Do you agree, Bill?
Well, in Pennsylvania, our state convention doesn't officially start until Monday, but often or more than not, Friday, the preceding Friday, Saturday, the board for the state of Pennsylvania will be in there, and they'll be doing resolutions and work like that on top of another committee that'll be going in for the not for tellers, but the mileage per diem. And Sundays are days for information, as well as we got back into the bowling. Used to be every Sunday before the convention, they'd have bowling nights for families, which is great fun. Monday would start out, and at the typical pomp and circumstance for the first half of the day, discharging the juniors to their programs and everything. Tuesday is the brunt of the business aspect of it. There are 2 dinners. There's a kind of meet and greet before one of the dinners so that you can get enough alcohol in you to tolerate the people you're going to meet. And Wednesday is the close of business, finishing off resolutions, the general elections for the state officers, and then your closing remarks. But again, like James said, there are a ton of seminars that you need to pay attention to, and some of them start before the actual convention business. So if you want to participate in them, be advised to make sure you check your itinerary from your state out, because of the fact that there is a lot of stuff going on before the official start of your convention.
Yep, ours starts Sunday evening. We do auxiliary puts on a memorial service for the carriers that we've lost in the previous year, and we also do caucus on Sunday evenings following the memorial for those running for state board. But yeah, that's all we have prior to official business starting on Monday and yeah, but usually throughout the weekend, the resolutions committee and the all the other different committees that we have set up to do, the per diem and all that stuff, they'll come in, I think, usually on Saturday, Friday or Saturday, and get that stuff taken care of.
And don't forget the election committee doing the ballot counting for national delegate, making sure that they count every ballot that's come in from your state for national delegate.
See,
And
in
that'll be
Pennsylvania,
released at your state convention.
yeah, in Pennsylvania, we do a separate date for that, and everybody gets a notice of when they're going to actually do the separation counting of the ballots for the national convention. And they notify the membership that, if you want to be present, it'll be held at this time, at this place, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
But it's not done at the state convention itself. There's too much more going on.
Yeah,
with that.
our ballot committee will get it taken care of just prior to. Usually, I think they do it Sunday during the day, and then that way we have the list of the delegates by Monday after lunch. Again, I could be wrong. I haven't personally been on any of the committees to know what days that they actually do it for my state, so I can't say for sure. I'm just going by what I have noticed in the past.
I always get plugged on the mileage and per diem committee.
We'll say this. If you want to know kind of what national convention's like, go to your state convention. It's a baby version of national convention.
Definitely a baby version. I would say probably like only nationalists. I mean, you're going from having like maybe 150, 200 attendees to having 1,500 to 2,000 attendees at national convention. Yeah, and each state does things a little differently depending on their state constitution. As long as their state constitution falls in within the guidelines of the national side, then they're okay. So yeah, each state, county,
they can have their little flair.
Has their own constitutions, bylaws, board policies, all that stuff.
And that that bothers me a lot because of the fact that the states try to mirror the national convention rules, the rules as far as their constitutions are concerned. This is why we have separate states, so that no one entity is controlling what the other 50 plus the Guam and Puerto Rico offer in regards to what they do with their constitution rules and amendments. That's why you have the 50 plus individual voices, because if you turn around and you homogenize everything, then you're drowning out the individual's voices and that's that really galls me, that everybody just tries to mirror the national people.
I think it depends on what it is. I mean, in some circumstances, I don't mind if things get done pretty much the same across the board. I mean, when it comes to like elections or certain business type aspect, I mean, I don't mind it. I kind of like the uniformity a little bit with certain things. Not everything, but definitely with certain things. I mean, we've got some resolutions coming up for our state that will, to potentially change the way that our voting power is at our state convention. Right now, we vote our county unit strength. And if we have 12, can have 12 delegates to state, we only have 2. Well, we're splitting those votes. We're wanting to try and make it a little bit more, because now you're looking at people with larger counties. You've got one county that has 400 people in there as a voting strength, but other counties only have, and they only send 4 or 5 delegates. And you've got other counties that may only have, 120 or whatnot, and they may only send 1 or 2 people. Well, now you were trying to even it up as 1 delegate, 1 vote, rather than voting your local strength.
You could have one person turning around and voting and squashing out 3 other counties, which at the time they created this, it was meant to help the smaller counties out that had more people that were less willing to travel and go places and do things like conventions, and so they could not be overrun by bigger counties with larger rural carrier populations. And now they've turned around and merged multiples of these counties. The other larger counties are now smaller on rural because of how much city's taken over. It's becoming to the point where it needs to be one person, one vote, because even the larger counties are having less attendees.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
we
talking about merging two of our units together that are already merged units and merging them into a larger unit, and that larger unit will squash 4 county units by themselves.
can.
Have you put in a resolution for that?
It's in. Several counties have put it forward.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's
and-
like, like for instance, we could have 12 delegates from my county. We have 2. We have 2 going. That's it. I mean, my old local, we could have, I think, 14. I think we usually average 6 or 7, and they still average around 6 going. But they're also another unit that might possibly merge with another one. If that
Mine
other
has 24. Mine has 24. Could be 5. It is 5 this year. So.
Yeah, it's just, I would love to see more people be able and want to take the time to get actively involved. And I think
I would love to see more carriers working their routes and not being so overburdened that they're too tired to be able to participate in this, or get out so late they can't make the drive to attend these meetings.
I don't really have that issue in my office per se. Again, every office is different, every route's different. But in general, I would like to see more people get active, be active. And I'm gonna say this, and James can probably relate in the meetings that he's gone to in the last couple years. It's the same people at all the boosters and state conventions, and it's the same people that are the delegates to national.
I think we had 7 new people at Spring Booster this year,
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
You do get a few new faces, each time
But
around. But
what I really would like to see is them recognize the second time attendees, the people that have come once and came back a second time, because that's a more telling number.
yeah, I agree. I wouldn't mind seeing that, just to see that they are being actively involved and they are coming back again. That would be nice. Or to see the first timers that make it to boosters be able to make state conventions or area conferences as well. And I know I haven't attended as many area conferences as I have state conventions, but I have been regularly going to mid-states since Cleveland.
And I've been involved with them ever since I learned about them, because I didn't actually have much union participation for a while until I started looking for information myself, which is a sad fact in this day and age of technology and ability, that many people don't have access to that information right off the bat, straight out of the academy, or even when they're on the workroom floor.
It's sad, and it's reflected in the same way that people vote for the new contract. You're averaging less than 26% of the ballots are returned. A quarter of the craft are dictating what the other 75% are getting for their raises.
Quarter
Because
of the
you didn't
voting
bother to get
craft.
involved.
Quarter of the union members. Not even the non-union members.
I actually read a study on that. There was a study that was published, and it was a sociology study. It was called the Werewolves and Villagers game. And in the game, 2 people would be a werewolf. The rest of the people would be villagers. They each got a card. And the 2 people that got a werewolf card, when it came to night, had to select a single villager per werewolf that was alive to kill that night. And then the next morning, the villagers had to figure out who was the werewolf. Well, mind you, in the daytime, the werewolves are a villager. And the game ends when either both werewolves or all the villagers are dead. And they found out in all the tests they did with that, they never could kill both werewolves. And the point behind that is an informed minority can control the uninformed majority.
Absolutely. Do that all the time.
Turn the news on.
And that's why we tell everybody, get informed, get educated, learn your stuff, get involved, be part of this craft, be part of this union, vote, use your voice, file grievances. What do we say, Bill?
File, 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 and smile.
Exactly.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree. I mean, on the retiree thing at National, don't get me wrong, there are some awesome retirees fighting for the craft to this day and fighting for the good stuff for the craft for this day. I'm not excluding those, but there are some that just need to hang the hat up. And, and I do know of some that are, that have. I'm retired, I'm done, I'm stepping down. And and of those carriers that I've gotten to know over the years, I look at them, I say, I thank you, I will miss you, but thank you. I'm going to step down and let the next person be able to have that opportunity. And I have full respect for them, 100%.
Well, how about in my case where I have a retired state pastor who was retired from the craft for 15 years, and now he's retired, and still goes to the national conventions with his wife, who was never a craft employee.
Yeah,
All right.
it's a touchy subject with the retirees. I do have to agree. I mean, I think it just kind of was a little unnerving for one national convention when they're recognizing the leave replacements and they're recognizing these people and these people. And when they ask all the retirees to stand up and 2/3 of the convention floor stood up, that to me can be a little disheartening at times.
But it goes back to my point that a lot of people don't have the time, the money, or the conviction to attend these things. They haven't gotten so angry at the system that they want to help make a difference. They haven't gotten so passionate about their craft to want to make a difference. And that's what we're trying to instill in everybody that listens to this is we want that passion. We want that conviction. We want that desire to make this craft better. And it starts with and ends with every single rural letter carrier out there. I don't care if you're an ARC, an RCA, regular carrier, or retired, or even a PTF. I missed you guys in the middle there, but I'll put you at the end. You guys are the reason to make a difference in this craft. You are the reason we're here on this podcast. You're the reason we're running for national office because we want to make a difference for the better of the craft. And you guys can make a difference too. If you're a retiree, your job as a retiree at these conventions is to make the job better for the current employees there so they can become retired rural letter carriers. If you're a regular carrier,
Be
your
a
job,
mentor and a support system for those that are the up and comings.
yes, and the regular carriers are there to show an RCA or a PTF how to be a regular rural carrier. ARCs, I'm sorry, there's no career path in ARCs, but your job is to be there and support the ARC system. And RCAs and regulars need to support the ARC system because they take a load off of us. They take a load off of us by taking parcels for us. So we have to support them too. Every member of this craft is important. It doesn't matter where you land in the craft, you are important. And making this better for everybody is what we need to do.
And to go back to the local meetings, like what Kristen was saying, the poor attendance factor. This is what leads to the local chapters having to combine with each other to get enough people to go to the meetings just to fill out a quorum to make the meeting legitimate. And that therefore, if you're combining with another district, an adjoining district, now you're going to have to travel further to go to the local meeting, unless they put it somewhere, dead center of then everybody's got to travel to that meeting, making it more inconvenient to attend the meeting. And I don't want to hear about inconvenience, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lady in our office who for years wanted to attend, but couldn't attend because she had kids that she had to get home and feed and all that. Well, you know what? Bring your kids there. We'll feed them. They can sit in the back drawing color while you attend the meeting. And she showed up for 6 years until she transferred out. You make it possible. You make it work for the craft.
Hmm.
We didn't do anything extraordinary for it, but we did make allowances. And if that's what was needed to get her to attend and participate in her future, her paycheck, God damn it, we're doing it.
Ruby went with me to my local this time around. She went with me to the spring booster. She kind of hung out in the room because she wasn't feeling all that good. But she came down for banquet and whatnot, and she will be joining us at Mid-States. So, I kind of enjoy it because she really is thinking about applying when she turns 18 in October. And, she'll be 2 months past having the kid, and so it'll be right about time to, get back into the workforce. And she will pretty much have everything union under her belt but national convention, only because her due date's the day before it starts. And she will definitely have a seeing on, she's already seeing on how the union side of things work. So she's, already kind of preparing herself. She's like, well, I want to go to national convention next year with you. I'm like, well, if you're hired in, you can go with us, definitely, for sure. Maybe even get you on the delegate ballot, which, if she decides that she does want the job and she gets in as an RCA, then I will definitely nominate her for a national convention. It's, I want to I'm trying to get the new ones, the young ones, up and coming. I mean, I was honored that my RCA did come to the local meeting, and he wants to do more after just attending it and seeing, I did put 2 resolutions through. We were talking about, the chair's position for 2026 state convention that my local's co-hosting. We did our annual elections for our board members. He saw me in action on that side of stuff, and it really kind of piqued his interest. So, it maybe come down to maybe he'll end up going to state convention with me instead of the other RCA. We'll see what happens. I don't know yet, but I really think the new ones should really start getting involved with the changes that are happening. And as anybody though get involved. I got involved from the very beginning because I had a regular. It took me under her wing and took me to everything, and I got elected to the local board 4 months after I started as an RCA and served that position for 4 years. And she then had, all right, I'll go ahead and work this weekend a fall booster so you can go with another carrier. We eventually had it worked out to where, she was taking me to state convention because we had somebody else that could cover the route while we were both gone. National convention, we worked our ways up to it to where I just go and do all that stuff on my own now. And I'm hoping to bring people along with me and guide them through it like I was. Because it really is an important part of our careers. And definitely as somebody who is a new regular who still has 20 years to go, I want to make sure there's a positive future for the craft.
And nobody realizes how important mentoring is in following up with the people that you train, getting involved in the local meetings, just talking to them off the clock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is so important that they get that positive reinforcement that they push through the next day and the next day and the next day, because this is not a job for the timid. And if you're thin-skinned, please don't apply because they'll eat you up. And it's a shame that you shouldn't have to be that way, but that's the way the job is right now. And until we get a new national board in there and we get the post office, get in line with the contract, get in line with treating people respectfully, it's going to continue.
All right. Go
Treating
ahead.
respectfully. Speaking of treating respectfully, we've had management talking about route cut, and they recently put out a spreadsheet showing a lot of the routes that are going to be cut, and it is not a complete list. It will never be a complete list because it comes from national office, and district will turn around and add or remove or do whatever they want with that list to adjust it to fit their needs and wants. There are people out there who are not on that list who have said that their routes are in line to be cut by their management. Here's the caveat to that. The route cuts under this system have to be done inside one pay period. They cannot make any changes after one pay period. It all has to be done in 2 weeks total time. So they have to plan everything. They have to figure out, where's this going to go? Where's that going to go? How's it going to merge together? And this is not going to be, oh, just this 48 gets cut and put over here. They can turn around and adjust every single route in that office, but they cannot put your route lower or lower than your current evaluation. That is the rules on it. The ones that are getting cut, your overburdened routes, they can cut you back. But if your route is a 40, 41, 42, 43K, they cannot put you below that number. There is no rhyme or reason to how they're doing this or whose office is doing what, how they're going to put it together. They could turn around and leave you with absolutely none of the customers that you had. That is one risk in this system that they're going to do. They could turn around and, for instance, I'll just take a couple numbers off the top of my head. They could take Route 29 as an overburdened route with a 48K. They could cut that back to a 43 and put part of it on Route 1, part of it on Route 3, part of it on the aux route, and then turn around and take part of Route 1, put it on Route 4, part of Route 2, put it on Route 6, as they're doing these adjustments around the office. But they cannot take an underburdened route, a route that is under 47K, and make it less than its current evaluation, according to this system. Now, it doesn't mean that your route's going to be under evaluated after your next mail count, but it's just that the current mail count system will say that you are that specific size route. What have you guys heard?
One thing I've heard is if you were overburdened for the past 3 surveys, then they're going to go ahead and cut you. But if you haven't been, then you're not on the list currently. So, and so far, what we've been told in my office, me and the route next to me are both 48s. We've been told that we're not on the list to get cut yet. So I don't know how true it is, but that's just what I've heard.
Well, I've been overburdened since 2018. So I guess that's why I'm on the list with 2 other routes in my office. And again, we're getting the word that they're going to square off the routes. And I just laughed at the postmaster. She goes, "What's so funny?" I said, "You have no idea what you're doing, do you?" And she goes, "Well, they have people coming in to train us." I said, "Good luck with that, because they still didn't train you for Rex." And I walked back to my case. Of course, everybody, "Oh, hey, what can I tell you? You can't fix stupid. You really can't." And these people, they don't know the contract. They don't know Rex. They don't know the adjustments. Nobody has gotten any information on the algorithm they're using to make the cuts. Everybody's going, "Well, how many boxes is that?" Well, it's not boxes. It's volume, factor. It's your coverage factor. It's your drive speed matrix. It's a CBU. Is it freestanding? Is it a dismount? All these things are coming into play here, folks. So it's just not box. Don't think they're just going to cut a couple boxes and just throw it over. There's a lot more into this. But again, like Rex, there's no transparency in regards to what elements are being factored into these adjustments.
And then another factor of it is, and I saw this in my office when we had a 48K prior to the mail count that we cut just before the mail count, and he was still up there in the, I think he was a 45K after the first evaluation, after the cut, even though he's pretty much down to almost an aux route in size on his route. He's finally getting down there to that point, but it's taken these mini mail surveys to get there. And it's actually quite sad to watch. And I think that's what's going to happen with these, is that it's going to take the previous months prior that you had it over 48K and put it on the new evaluation the next go around. And it's not going to be a full adjustment until you get that full 12 weeks of mail delivery at the new routing that they've done, or routing, or however you want to pronounce it. I know we have some people who like to correct us on pronunciation. It's Nevada. Get it right, sir.
Notice how he
Yeah.
never said Nevada again in
No.
the entire thing. We have customers.
But that's the thing is the system is not perfect. It's not going to be perfect. It's built by humans. No human is perfect. Will never be perfect. And if you think you are, you're sadly mistaken. But
Or you're dead.
that too. But the system is going to probably take those routes and raise them right back up almost to overburden, if not above overburden status on their next evaluation. Now, if management was smart, notice I said if, they would recognize that and wait for the second mini mail survey after that to do another cut. But judging by the way management is, they'll probably try to do another cut after that, and then you'll end up as an H route.
And let's not forget, kind of talking like last week, when we had the listener question about, the management saying for the past 5 years that they were going to cut from one route and add it to the aux route. They don't have to do that. They could actually dissolve the aux route to build up other routes in the office if they were hit to substandard levels. So,
And when they do these route remeasurements and stuff, and the route cuts, they could turn around and actually put the aux routes on the other routes in the office and dissolve the aux route completely, even though they're only cutting overburdened routes, because they could turn around and put that aux route on an H, J's, and so on, and bring them up into K status. Because another part of this is called squaring up the routes. And squaring up sometimes brings routes up to the same amount of value.
and and also with squaring up, they tried to keep from territory overlapping too much as well. I mean, there's no way that with my 46K, I mean, if I was to go into overburden status, I would say, cut off the north end of my route altogether. But to square up, there's no way that they would be able to take from me and give me something else from another route just because of the way my route is laid out. So
Now, since people are throwing that term around, square up, I want you to realize when management's talking about squaring up, they're talking about grouping the routes closer together in regards to their line of travel, not so much as their evaluation. But the problem of it is that they think they're squaring it up to the evaluation, which is a misconception on their part. They are trying to get rid of routes that overlap each other. And that's a problem because a lot of routes have to drive past 4 or 5 routes just to get to their start. So how are you going to square that up, folks? When you have pickles in a drum, which one's smarter?
Now, this came across our live stage chat. And if you want to join us on our live stage, get the Discord link off of our Facebook group, our Facebook page, and you can actually join us live when we're recording. Right now, if you're on an iPhone, it won't work. Something's wrong with iPhones getting on Discord right now. But that's another way you can actually join in on the conversation. Hashtag shameless plug. It says, another scenario from our office. We have a zip that has two 48Ks and one J. Supervisor says she wants to cut the two 48Ks to 43Ks, but she wants to take the cut parts and make an aux. Does she have any obligation to add any of those cut sections to the J route first before creating the aux? Nope. If they were smart, yes. But when have we ever known management to be smart about things?
Mhm.
Especially this stuff. Especially stuff that deals with our paychecks.
And here's the irony of that. Okay, you create an aux route. If it's a government vehicle office, do you have an extra vehicle laying around for that aux route? Do you have enough subs that can service that aux route? If not, what's the point? Why create another vacancy?
I have to agree. We have one route in my office that could potentially be cut. It just went back up to a 47. However, it is a completely different zip code, and therefore it would have to be an aux route. But who's going to run it? That's what we're looking at right now. Who's going to run it? And technically, you could take our one aux route and roll it back in, because we have 3 zip codes in my office. We have the one route That's the 47, and then we have the other route that is now a 42, and the aux route that are in the other zip code. And potentially you could roll that aux route back into the 42K quite easily. It used to be one route to begin with. But, he's been fighting for that for a while and they won't do it. And they wouldn't do it before, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't do it now. But, yeah, they don't have to add it to another route. They can create an aux route. It would make sense to build up that J route, but at the same time, doesn't mean it's going to happen.
And just remember, an aux route has to have a minimum of 12 standard hours to be an aux route. They have to have a minimum of 2 hours per day for the aux route, because they don't want to pay free time to the RCA that's running it, because RCA is guaranteed 2 hours minimum when scheduled. So, all right, speaking of management, I actually have a post from one of our groups on Facebook from a manager talking about Rex. I don't know if you guys have seen this one or not, but it's a really lengthy post. But this is, I would say, somewhat of a good manager here, a good postmaster. So it reads.
Hold on, let me sit down after you said that, okay?
Yeah, sit down, Bill. It's another one of those unicorns. It says, "Hello, everyone. I'm a postmaster that has just joined this group in order to get more info for my carriers so that I pay them properly." All right, Bill's already passed out from that one. "After reading several posts, I am absolutely saddened by the amount of bad information that is being given out by managers. I know that management is responsible for training the carriers on Rex, but based on the things I'm reading, if I were a rural carrier, I would do my own research. NRLCA has a comprehensive guide that is very long, but goes over exactly how your evaluation is computed. The most recent is from 2024. There is also a Q&A that is helpful for common issues." Amazing that a postmaster has access to this stuff.
Unless a carrier has
I am-
showed it to him.
More
Yeah,
than likely. Yep.
I am not an expert, but I know enough that every route in my office has gained between 1 to 3 hours. My J route was converted to a K, and my aux route was converted to an H. Yay! For the record, although Rex is complex and is continually being updated, if you learn and do what you're supposed to, your route evaluation will be more accurate than it was under the old system. Sometimes this means more money, sometimes this means less, but more accurate nonetheless. Having said that, there are obviously still problems, especially for anomalies. I am not a massive fan of the Rex because of this, but I'm learning how to work it for the good, ethically, of course. Although management involvement is important for a number of reasons, the majority of your evaluation is based upon what you do or don't do every day. Here are my tips for what you can do as a rural carrier to control your evaluation. We've gone over these tips in multiple sessions of these recordings. Make sure your route is mapped properly. I cannot tell you how many errors that my carriers and I have found from the original mapping process. I have too. My recommendation to you is to request your NDI percentage from the prior delivery day every day from your manager until it's all fixed. What NDI does is track the percentage of deliveries where you have physically gone into the geofence. If your percentage is not at least 80, something is wrong. Without going into too much detail, because this post is already long, a low percentage can come from either mapping errors or you simply not going to the address, or not having GPS signal, not having cell coverage. There's all kinds of errors that can happen. The NDI program will flag any delivery address for which you did not go into the geofence. Edit for clarification, NDI is not connected to Rex, but it can be an indicator of where your GPS breadcrumbs or mapping are faulty. Every delivery point is mapped for the mailbox, the mail stop, the front door, and where you park when you get out for delivery. If any of these were originally mapped wrong, it can impact your evaluation. We found one mailbox that was supposed to be mapped in the parking lot of a church that for some reason was mapped onto the railroad tracks that run beside the church. Don't ask me how this happened because I don't know, but we fixed it. That's a big issue. I've found a lot of GPS points have been moved in the mapping for unknown reasons. This is why The union has been pushing for everybody to do their mapping monthly and go through all your spots. Number two, go past every box every day because it impacts your mileage. I had one carrier that decided he wasn't going to go down a road to a business because it never had any mail. And after a period of time of him not going down that road, he lost that mileage. Edit for clarification, I am only talking about mileage. Your route mileage is a 15-day average of what you are actually driving, supposedly. Number three, adding per direct message questions. Your box coverage percentage is an average, so don't stress if you don't stop at every box every day. You just need to stop more than half the week. I recommend taking your DPS to the street if it is safe to do so, as sorting out undeliverable mail at the box increases your likelihood of being there for 3 seconds so that your GPS breadcrumb for that stop gets recorded. Currently, your box coverage is made up from these breadcrumbs and informed delivery, but there are issues with this, of course, that I sincerely hope that they get worked out because it's hurting my CBU routes that only get one stop for multiple deliveries. Good news is that anytime you enter box holders or WSS, you automatically get 100% coverage for that day, so that's helpful. Again, we went over this, that the breadcrumbs don't actually add up. But if this person is saying what's accurate, then that mapping is probably the major deficit on those people who are stopping at all their boxes for 3 to 5 seconds every day. Number four, update your edit book every single month at a minimum. Pay special attention to the delivery mode and whether the delivery is active or inactive. Number five, be involved in the line of travel review that management is required to do every time an edit book is submitted and the changes are uploaded. If your manager is doing this without you, address it. If they don't comply, grieve it. Wow, a manager telling us to grieve something. Kristen's probably passed out at that one. The review goes over both your line of travel and all of your traffic control points, i.e. stop signs, stoplights, railroad crossings, etc., which factor into your evaluation. We found a few TCPs that were excluded from the original mapping or put at the wrong place. After the first time you do this thoroughly and fix it, unless you have a high delivery growth route, it should take 10 minutes or less to do the reviews going forward. Regulars get paid $81.27 time for this review, and RCAs holding down a route get paid on a green card. Or you're supposed to do it on your end of shift duties. Put it into your route evaluation. Edit, and here it is, edit. It should be done between return to unit and clock out so that it's built into your route. However, if for some reason, yeah, exactly what I just said. Number six, put in every single activity scan. Don't be lazy in this. It's highly important. There is still an ongoing debate on what counts as an unscanned parcel and how you put it in, so I can only tell you how it's calculated. There was an instruction put out a while back for carriers to enter these under door miscellaneous, but I tell my folks to put it in under unscanned parcel. Door miscellaneous is for mail and anomalies where you have to go to the door. Example, too much to fit in the mailbox, like resume hold mail, or Sally Jane got 25 magazines with a small size mailbox. It only pays you for the trip to and from the door. When you scan a parcel, you get credited for handling it in addition to the trip to and from the door. Why should my carriers lose their handling time just because it doesn't have a barcode? Damn! Can I have this, Postmaster?
I know, right?
Her final comment. I'm sorry that this is so long, but I hope that at least some of you benefit from it. And the very first comment underneath this is a GIF of somebody standing up and applauding. And I do the same thing to that post.
This Postmaster for Postmaster General, please.
Yes.
Can we
I'm
just
sorry.
Can we just clone this postmaster for the entire country?
I
I'm
wanted to
sorry. I
put
just
that
got
out
back
there.
from the bathroom and I'm on the wrong Facebook page or something here. That was all fiction.
but there's a point, guys. Especially when it brings up, driving your entire route, and this comes down to RCAs, especially because this is the biggest thing that I hear is when RCAs are covering the routes and, well, this road only has 1 or 2 boxes, they don't have mail today, so I'm not going down it. You drive the entire route every single day. What if those 2 boxes had outgoing mail? You know, I have lots of little opportunities where I could cut corners on my route because they hardly ever get mail, but I don't. I drive the entire route every single day. It's like during the wintertime, my first road that I deliver on literally has nobody's there in the wintertime. 2 boxes might get mail once a month, maybe, even though they're not there. They don't forward out. Everybody else forwards out for the winter. I still drive down that road every single day. You drive your entire route every single day. That's what we're paid to do. That's your
And remember-
mileage, especially if you're in a POV route. And that EMA, I mean, that can affect your mileage.
And don't forget, too, that you are to follow the line of travel. We have several subs that rearrange their delivery line of travel to suit their needs. Folks, if you get involved in an accident after you've deviated from the line of travel, that's on you. That's a hard one for the union to fight. So follow the line of travel. That's what you're paid to do.
There's a couple of people in the comment section here. I want to say that when you're doing the mapping, if there's like new builds, because trust me, I have about 4 subdivisions that are still new builds. One does not show up at all. If you click on the gear icon for settings, you can actually change the overhead look, the bird's eye view, from the like Google Street View or the Google view that you would see pulling up Google Maps. There's actually other maps that are on there that are loaded that are satellite images. So sometimes you will get the clouds in the way, but you can pull up those other maps to go ahead and try to map the new stuff, because a lot of my new stuff is on there, or at least the foundations are on there, even though they're fully built now. But some of them are updated more constantly than the base one that the program uses.
And make
And of
sure
course,
each month when you're going in to do your mapping and updating that you're downloading when you go in to do your DPM. You're going to download it each month. That way, if there are any changes in your edit book, those are going to come up out there.
yep, I Meow actually posted this in our live chat, but I also do it too. You can always also pull up Google Maps on your phone. That's going to be probably the most updated satellite imagery at all times, is the one on your phone, because Google tries to update it as much as possible to keep it as accurate as possible, because they want to stay ahead of everybody else in that terms. So sometimes when I was mapping, like I had new builds that I had to map in some of the other routes when I was the mapping facilitator that didn't have houses on any of the maps the Postal Service provided. So I used Google Maps on my phone with it next to the computer so I could use that as a visual cue of where I should put the mailboxes and so on and so forth with the carrier. Gotta find the way to solve the issue somehow, some way, so that way you can map it as accurately as possible.
And there is, I know, some issues with the turn by turn that gets printed out with the LTM at the end. It doesn't always. You can edit those directions. I know I had to, because like I said, my very first road, it would tell me to turn left. There's no place to turn left when you go to turn right down my first road. I probably spent close to an hour updating my line of travel. Now, you can't update it all at once and then save it. You have to do a few lines at a time, then click save, then go back in. Because the first time I tried to do it, when I tried to edit it, I did it all at once and then it wouldn't save.
Yep.
So I learned the next time when I actually sat down and updated it that I did 3, 4, 5 lines max. And then I hit save, and then I had to go back in and click the edit thing again on it right above it and go down and then do the next set of lines. I finally got that taken care of last month. Fingers crossed when I go do my mapping this week that it'll still be there properly like it's supposed to be. But yeah, there are ways of fixing that line of travel printout.
Yeah, I did that to mine too. I had a lot of left turns where I was supposed to go right and a lot of right where I was supposed to go left. I had translations that really didn't make sense that I had to fix, because I have one area where I make like several loops through the neighborhood, and it's the only way to service all the mailboxes. There's no way to actually straighten it out and make it less of a distance to travel. So I give the LTM props if it can find a way to do it. It was trying to say you turn right, then turn left, turn right, then turn left, when literally you only had to go straight, stuff like that. But I did the edits, and a month later they were still in there. So I think it was only the initial system when you first did the mapping that a lot of errors popped up, and after that, after you fixed them, they worked fine. So hopefully now modern updates will not be so screwed up.
Yeah, I have to go in and I have a mailbox that got moved. The business box. It used to be right next to the box for the next door business and the next door business parking lot, and they wanted it in their own parking lot. So they finally moved that a few weeks ago, and I left a note for my RCA to say, even if they don't have mail, please pull in to their box so it's picking up the breadcrumb change. And even to the, I'm still pulling in regardless, because again, you're going to drive your full route every day regardless. I mean, I look at it, even if it's a business or a resident that hardly gets any mail, at least that's letting me see if anything's changed. Did they sell the house? Did they take a mailbox down? It also allows you to keep up your route maintenance if you're driving the full route every day. Any changes or whatnot, and even when I was an RCA, and the regular would be off for whatever reason out of town for a week, 2 weeks, or longer at a time, depending on what was going on. I would always leave little notes for them too, saying, all right, new mailbox at this place, because you drive the route every day.
All right, there was one comment that was made earlier about a previous topic that we talked about, and I just want to make sure we put it in here. The route adjustments, Tuesday through Thursday route adjustments for people who are in formula offices that have a non-Saturday relief day. The Tuesday through Thursday time frame. You want to touch on that, Kristen?
If you have a relief, if you're on a route that's a 47 or 48 slated to be adjusted, and you have a relief day that is a Tuesday through Thursday, they can cut you down, not necessarily to the 43K, but to 53 standard hours, which is a 44K. I know in the past we've said 45K because that has always been said, but when you look at the contractual language, it is 53 standard hours, which is a 44K.
And this provision only applies to people who volunteered for Tuesday through Thursday. So when your office did a formula recalculation and they asked, does anybody want to volunteer for Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday? And you go, I want Wednesday. Those are the only people that are protected under that. If you were forced to take Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, or you bid on a route that had a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, whether that carrier volunteered or not, it doesn't matter. You will be cut back as low as a 43. It's only for volunteers of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. You can read it in the contract.
All right, go ahead.
Fender Bender puts in there about the 45K being to the original carrier when the office becomes formula. Carrier discretion. It can be manipulated as management is prone not to know the contract. So carrier discretion. If you inform them that you want to be closer to 55 hours, you can kind of nudge them in that direction.
All right, I'm going to go back to driving the whole route all the time, every day. What about dismount closed on Saturday in a business area? Hit both CBUs. Should I drive to the closed business? I have the whole industrial park that's closed on Saturdays for mine. I still drive down there and come back up, because you just never know if somebody put a flag up Friday night on their way out the door to mail off something to get into the mail stream Saturday morning.
Yeah, even if you have CBUs that are business closed, that is a locked mailbox. You can still deliver mail to it on Saturdays.
Yeah, I have one. Well, no, you wouldn't have. I would just drive up to where the business is, but you don't have to dismount to go inside. Obviously, if it's an authorized dismount, you can't dismount to go inside when it's closed.
Correct.
But Following, the
And
line of
that
travel, if if that's where, if you turn around there or something, definitely keep the same thing. Like I said, my whole industrial park, really, it's 1, 2, 3 roads. It's a straight line. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes. It's just a quick 2-minute drive down there and back up when they're closed. The same with my township hall and chamber of commerce. I have to turn down that road anyways to service another box. I'm going to whip through the parking lot, drive past the boxes. Because somebody, like I said, somebody could have put some outgoing mail in there on Friday when they closed on their way out the door for the weekend, and I've seen it. I've had it happen.
And also, if you have businesses closed, make sure you put the day they're closed in your edit book, especially for your authorized dismounts. Number one, it's gonna affect your evaluation negatively, but you're supposed to do that per the PO 603.
Like
Supposed to mark.
because mine's are listed as delivery Monday through Friday for my industrial park and my township offices.
And like we say, just be accurate and honest with what you do. It doesn't matter how dishonest management is, always CYA, because cover your assets, protect your paycheck. You be honest 24/7, 365 with this job, 365 and a quarter, because you got to include the leap year. But be honest with your evaluation, be honest with what you do on the job, be honest with what you have on your route. Let management be the one that makes mistakes, be the one that makes errors, be the one that violates things.
And if management is not doing if management is not allowing you to do your mapping every month like they're supposed to, you need to contact your DR. Plain and simple. I still hear of offices that haven't done anything with mapping since the first time they mapped. That's ridiculous.
Right.
It's supposed to be done every month.
And you know for a fact management is going in there and doing the mapping without the carrier to get off of the list from district that it has to be done. They get a list from district to do the mapping. District knows when they haven't done the mapping. So if you're not doing the mapping every month, your manager's doing it without you.
And if you do get a chance to sit down and you haven't done it in a while, it's been a few months since you've mapped, there's a place on there that when you pull it up, it'll tell you when the last time it was certified and done. So if it has a date from the previous month, that means somebody went and did it without you. And at that time, I would be definitely contacting your DR. I'd go straight to the DR on that.
It's your Indo shift time to do the mapping. It's your money. If you're not doing your mapping, you're not fighting for doing your mapping. You're leaving money on the table for the post office to take back.
And anytime that there's not a mapping facilitator available at the end of the day, contact your DR, your ADR, file every single time, every single day that they don't have someone there. So that way they can start pushing to have someone there in the afternoons for end of shift duties to do your mapping.
Get it printed out too.
Yep.
Yes, make sure you have your LTM, especially because it'll print out how many boxes you have regular, how many central and CBU boxes you have, how many stop signs, all your traffic control points. So that way, whenever it comes to your evaluation, when the mini mail surveys come through, you can always go back and say, look, January and February, it had this number, but why does my evaluation now say I only have 20 stops when every single time I've done mapping, it's been 25 stop signs? That's the way you document your disputes on the mini mail survey.
And when I was facilitating my entire office, which since I went regular, I have not been able to, I always printed 3 copies. One went in the management file, one went to the carrier, and as a facilitator, I kept a file folder with everybody's. That way, if there was any question, I had something to cover my butt as a facilitator as well when assisting these carriers. They had their copy at the case, management had a copy, and then I had a copy for them.
Yeah, I want you to think about this from a manager's perspective here. Managers that listen to their POOM are only concerned with making the amount of money spent out of the office the lowest possible. They want your route evaluations tiny. They want fewer clerks. They want less hours on the payroll if they're listening to their PUM. If they're doing it for themselves, they want your routes as big as possible, because the larger your routes are, the larger the office is. The more money the post office makes, that specific post office makes in revenue, etc. And that can actually increase the paycheck of the postmaster. It's in a postmaster's best interest to help you maximize your route. It's in district's best interest to minimize your routes. So any postmaster that's out there helping carriers is also helping themselves. And to go back to your point about traffic control points, printing out my LTM has helped me out on my disputes, because somehow apparently on my route, my LTM says I have 43 stop signs, but my 4241M says I have 41.87 stop signs. I don't know where 0.13 of a stop sign went on top of the extra one, but that's one of my disputes I actually had to put in.
It was bent.
Well, I had asked you about that. I never saw an answer. Do you have a business closed on Saturdays?
No,
That has a stop
none of
sign?
my businesses don't get delivery on Saturday. They all have mailboxes that I deliver to.
Okay, because that's the only thing I could possibly think of, is because I think you had originally said 0.17 off, which would be 5/6 or 1/6.
Some,
So it
something
would
around,
be, yeah.
but none of my businesses are closed. Well, they're closed on Saturdays, but the two of them have locking mailboxes, and the third one has a standard mailbox, and they don't care to have the mail in there all weekend. They'll leave Friday's mail in there over the weekend. So, and then the last business is open on Saturdays. So, and all my other deliveries get their mail every day of the week. I don't know how I had just a partial of a stop sign on there, but I definitely am disputing that to get that bumped up. Plus, I was missing 1/10 of a mile compared from my LTM to my 4241A and M. There's a lot of things that you can find in there that are different. Your speed, your route drive speed should always be the same. Your time that they give you for that should always be the same, because your route doesn't change shape if you don't add anything to it. So all those numbers across the last 3 evaluations should have been the same. So
Yeah,
definitely,
unless you close boxes, because whenever I do my mapping, if you close boxes, like they move or whatever, and they become vacant, then the DSM will change because you're not going to that box anymore. You're skipping it, so it's going to change that value. And also, of course, if you add boxes, for me, I've been adding like crazy because we're building like crazy. So I had 2 more authorized dismounts, so my DSM has changed every single count.
yeah, mine hasn't changed in the last 3 counts. My active boxes have stayed the same. My vacant boxes have pretty much stayed the same. In fact, I added a couple just prior to this evaluation, but it would have actually lowered my speed value, not increased it. I went up 1 mile per hour on my evaluation, and my time actually went down on my route. So it should have gone the other way, not the way it went. Don't understand it, but it's in the dispute process, so we'll see how they figure that one out. It'll probably come back with no action needed.
All right, guys, we're ready to start wrapping things up for this evening, unless anybody else has anything else to add.
I
Well,
have one more.
I
Go
got
ahead,
let me point out the smart ass who put up there that there was a rolling stop sign. All stop signs are rolling stop signs for rural craft.
I actually
That's why we
have.
get le-
I
that's why we get half a second.
I actually have a private road that only has 4 mailboxes on it that comes back out to US 23, which, as we all know, it's a 2-lane federal highway in my neck of the woods. And there is actually no stop sign at the end of that road.
I would make my own and put it in.
There is actually, I do stop. Don't get me wrong, I do stop because I'm coming out on US 23. But yeah, there is actually no stop sign at the end of that road.
My last thing on this we want to do another candidate Q&A for all the candidates that are running for national office. And we'll even invite the current national board to come on and answer questions if they'd like to, that are running for positions. But we have a Google form.
I'm
for
going to
Q&A.
update that. I'm going to update that form this evening while I'm editing. I am going to include Toasty on it as he has announced his candidacy for national board. That way, anybody that has any questions for him as well, will get him on board with that. So I will be updating that form and posting the new links tonight, tomorrow.
Now, before you go putting questions on there, please go back and review the 2 previous candidate Q&A episodes to make sure your question has not already been answered.
Trial by
That's the only-
fire was the first one.
Yeah. So make sure that if you check those both out, I know shameless plug to listen to those episodes, but we'd like some fresh, brand new questions. That way we can answer new questions for everybody out there. We're okay with getting some old ones too, but we would prefer to have new episodes instead of regurgitating the same things over and over. Just wanted to put that out there that we want to do 1 or 2 more of those episodes before we get to national convention. That way you guys can more fully understand what kind of candidates are running for office. And if the national board candidates don't wish to step onto the podcast to talk about it, then you'll just have the candidates that are running against them. So just wanted to put that out there. I know, another shameless plug.
And we know you're listening.
We know you guys are listening.
I was just gonna say that we know they're listening. So, but no, yeah, I'll get that updated with add Toasty on there as well for questions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yes, Sheriff, our state convention is June 10th through the 12th for Texas in San Marcos.
And ours is when, Kristen?
Ours is June. I just had that up. Let me look at my calendar to get the exact date. Sorry, had some things going at once here.
Do 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 do.
Ours is June 9th through the 11th. The 9th is a Sunday. That is the Memorial and Caucus. And business sessions is Monday and Tuesday.
And when are yours, Bill?
Ours is the 16th to the 19th of June, Pennsylvania.
And if anybody else is wondering when their state convention is, it is in the national magazine as well as listed on the national website in the magazine on the national website. You can actually pull it up there.
Yes, it is.
And that's all I have.
Oh, I'm going to go to North Carolina.
And there is a correction that they did put on the NRLC website about the state conventions. And Indiana's state convention, the correction, it will be held June 21st to the 23rd at the Brown County Inn in Nashville, Indiana. That is a correction to what came out in the magazine, national magazine. Just putting that out there. All right, guys. So we good to wrap it up now?
Yep.
All right. We're gonna have Toasty lead this off for his final commentary of the evening.
All right, we have the results in from mini mail survey. You know, we're all where we're at. Hopefully you got your disputes in and turned in with all your paperwork that you need to do. Let the process handle itself. Hopefully you have good DRs, ADRs, people fighting in your corner. Just let the process play out. We are in April. April showers bring May flowers. Remember to turn around, don't drown, don't risk it for the mail. Don't let this job kill you. Stay safe out there and have a good week. James?
Based on what Toasty just said, April showers bring May flowers. Your car is not the Mayflower, but it will float away. Be safe, definitely. We talk about a lot of different things on this podcast to try and help every craft member in the rural family here. Everybody here is a brother and sister to everybody on this podcast. We care about all of you, and that's why we do this. It's important to get involved, see what's going on, get answers, get solutions to your problems. And I understand a lot of times it's very hard to find your solutions out there through the normal union chain of command. And that's why we're here, to help you learn where to get the information, what you need to know. where to find it, because I found so many people have not been able to find this information. And it saddens me to know that it's so hard to get this information. But maybe soon we can change that process together, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. Bill?
I'm at the point of my life that people consider me to be an angry man. It's not anger, it's passion. Because I see how management, postal management, treats people. I've always had the tenacity to stand up for others who don't feel comfortable to stand up for themselves. And that's what we're all doing here on this podcast. We're standing up for our craft brothers and sisters. And we're sincere about it. Not for our own benefit, not because of the fact that I don't believe any of the positions on the national board are going to be easy. They're going to be long, tedious hours. But we feel sincerely that you're worth it, that the future of the rural craft is worth it. I can't tell you how much it saddens me not to see people get involved in the craft, in the union, to protect their jobs, their paychecks, and their futures. And why are you working? Pay your bills, provide for your family, go on vacations, and then try to enjoy life a little bit. And we want to make sure that when you go to work, you have a hospitable environment where you can enjoy going to work. Like I remember 20 plus years ago, I used to love going to work. Now I love going to work just so I can piss them off more than they can piss me off. Like I always say, don't get stressed, cause it. But we're here for you. That's the only reason we give up our Sundays, sometimes Tuesdays, Mondays, middays. And James, I mean, he spends so many hours on the damn computer researching stuff. I'm surprised his brain isn't fried yet. But we're here for you. And to do the job properly, if elected, when elected, we're going to need you to help us get the job done. This is not a 9-person board that's going to be up there representing 130,000 people without your input, because it starts on the ground and your boots on the ground every day. And we'll need your insight, your guidance, your questions, and you're gonna need to challenge us too. This is not 9 people dictating future for 130,000. This is 130,000 dictating where their future is going. So please get involved, vote for delegates to represent you, become a delegate yourself, go to your local meetings, go to your state convention, go to your boosters, get involved, protect your future. And with that, everybody have a good week, be safe, do your job professionally, efficiently, and make sure you make the most important delivery of the day, and that's you getting home to your loved one.
Thank you, guys. Wow, Bill. Wow, that you summed it right up there, guys. You know, none of us take any of these positions that we're running for lightly. We know it's going to be day in, day out, tedious time, you know, to pave the way for a future within the craft. I mean, that's all that any of us have our sights on, is wanting to have a future for the craft, number one, and a positive future for the craft. I mean, like I said, you know, as a newer regular with 20 years to go, I mean, I want to retire from my route, but I want to know I'm going to have something to retire from. I want to know that I'm going to have a retirement, that I'm going to be able to afford to have a life up until I retire. And not only just myself, but every single one of you out there. You know, I want these newer RCAs or people still waiting to go regular to know that when they go regular, they have a future, they have a career in a positive light. As we know, not a lot of things are positive right now with the craft. We all see it every day. You know, and as like James, I research daily too. I mean, I'll see stuff. I don't reply a lot on social media anymore. I used to. I used to dive right in and just bam, 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 bam. And I don't. I see a lot of stuff that I just kind of raise my eyebrow at and keep going or shake my head. But there are times when people bring up really good questions, and I may not respond to it, but I'll at least go look the information up just for my own sake. Like, I haven't seen it. Let me go look that up because that's quite interesting. I want to know if there's language on that or if there isn't, or is this something that we can try and fight for in the future? That we all care, we all have a passion, and we definitely are here for every single one of you. And I do know there's been some accidents, and unfortunately we've lost carriers in the last couple weeks. And definitely all of our thoughts and prayers go out to those offices and families of those carriers that have been injured and have lost their lives. It definitely weighs on all of us when we see that, because it's just we don't want to see that. It's sad and it's scary at the same time, because anything could happen to any one of us on a route at the time, and it's scary. Make sure you tell your loved ones every day that you love them, and as Bill always says, you are the most important delivery of the day to get home to those loved ones safely. And on that note, guys, we are going to end this evening. We'll be back next week. Everybody take care. Have a good week. Stay vigilant. And till next time.
It's like, yeah.